It says he began to be a Geborim. He began becoming something that he wasn't before. But maybe he was genetically predisposed. I don't know.
Right.
But I will tell you that the record following Genesis 10, the very next chapter, is extraordinary because he sets out to build a tower. Chapter 11, Genesis. He sets out to build a tower whose height, whose top, will reach into Shemayim, the dwelling place of God. And God himself in that text says, now nothing shall be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. And what was it they imagined to do? To build a tower whose top would reach into Shemayim, the dwelling place of God. I've often thought, and this is after years of research, which can't be appreciated in just these few comments I'm making now, about the location of where he built the Tower of Babel, where in the last 7 years we as a nation have decided for some reason we need to be there, and we need to build the biggest embassy that the United States has in the world there, and a military base there. What were our motivations for going there? But I know we're going to have to stop this show tonight. So let me just say this: Nimrod may have been an example of what Isaiah, the prophet, goes on to prophesy about gateways through which the Nephilim can actually return in a physical form. When he describes a return of the giants at the end of time, and here's the important part about this. He describes this moment in time when Babylon is invaded at the end of times, which has happened in just the last few years under this administration. And here's what he says in Isaiah 13, 1 through 3. Now, I'm going to read this in the Greek Septuagint. I won't read it in Greek, but this is the Greek Septuagint so that you get the clearest understanding of this text. Isaiah 13, 1 through 3, he says this: the vision which Isaiah, son of Amos, saw against Babylon. Lift up a standard on the mountain of the plain, exalt the voice to them, beckon with the hand. Now listen to what he says, and every scholar recognizes this as an end times prophecy. Open the gates, ye ruler. I give command, and I bring them. Giants are coming to fulfill my wrath, end quote.
Whoa.
If you go on and read that chapter, he talks about how Babylon in the end times will be utterly destroyed, that a gateway will be opened, thus the title to my text, Nephilim Stargates, the year 2012 and the return of the Watchers, that the gateway will be open. God will give a command, just like he does in Revelation. He gives a command, and a mighty angel comes down with a key to the bottomless pit. He gives a command here in Isaiah, and he orders this ruler. We don't know who this ruler is, but he orders this ruler to open a gate. And when that gateway opens, he brings what he calls them, giants, Geborim, the offspring of the Nephilim, that are coming to fulfill his wrath in the end of times. At a time when Babylon, Iraq, is invaded at the end of times by a foreign power. So this is an extraordinary portion of prophecy. And anybody that wants to can go and read this prophecy. I'm not making this up. But here's an intriguing piece of this prophecy. He talks about how that Babylon will ultimately, after this invasion, Babylon will be destroyed. Something's going to happen. There's going to be a war, a nuclear detonation, something, and it may be a nuclear detonation for sure, because he talks about how Babylon will not be able to be inhabited by anything except, and this is unbelievable, he says, except by monsters and satyrs, and he goes on to describe transgenics, blended animals, part human, part animal, and they're the only thing that'll be inhabiting Babylon at this point of destruction. And I don't care if you go to raptureready.com or where you go. Everybody out there that studies the Scripture will tell you that this Scripture is talking about an imminent end-time event that could happen at any moment. And it's but for me, when I read Isaiah, the 13th chapter, and I look at how he talks about the end of this being occupied by transgenic creatures, mythological beings, part human, part animal, and then I look at what we're doing now, and I look at what the Watchers did that brought about chaos in the first place, I can't help but thinking, okay, either everything we believe is nonsense, or we can put faith in it and accept it as being real. And if we put faith in it and accept it as being real, and we look at end times prophecy, you have to look at where we are right now and where this government has taken us in their quest to try as hard as they can to bring about Armageddon. And the fact that we're in ancient Babylon now, and what's happening in technology, Daniel, it is just one of the most unbelievable periods of history. Hey, I'm going to have to go here in a minute.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tom, I appreciate you coming on the program, and and you are definitely the go-to person for this type of information, which is very valuable. Can we have you back on the program again sometime?
Well, sure. And by the way, if you're interested in also interviewing any of our other authors, I had something fall on me, sorry. Any of our other authors would love to also have you do that.
Yeah, excellent. Send me a list of that, and we'll get them on the program. Tom, as always, unbelievable information. Is shocking, but obviously well documented, and we've got some really crazy days ahead. Tom, you be safe where you're at, and we'll have you back on the program, and thanks so much for coming on the Edge television broadcast.
Thanks, Tom.
You too. Thank you, both of you. It was a blessing to be here. Thank you.
All right. By the way, one final thing. We will be playing right after the program, Tom, your lecture there from Roswell. So the folks, you mentioned that earlier, we will be playing that, and we also have a link to your website, Raiders News Network, out there on our website.
Well, you guys are great. Keep up the great work. It's important what you do.
You too.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye. All right, everybody, that was Tom Horn, and we did have experienced some technical difficulties, which we got resolved a little late, but we kept the guest on much later.
A volcano of information.
Well, you know what? Of course, some in the live chat said that you bringing out this kind of stuff. This gets right to the heart of stuff. I mean, you get away from Oprah and what Britney Spears is doing and what the government's doing. You get right down to it. There's some crazy stuff going on out there.
I mean, can you see it? Can you actually see what he was talking about? It was so, I could see it. What he was saying made absolute sense. He touched on things that I have thought about for a long time, and I can tell you I didn't read about it. It's just always been something in me that can that has always thought these things, and just like the soul elimination or creation, it's just but I mean, what I can say about all of this is that if people really want to know what's going on, if they want to be open to the truth, from what he was talking from clearly was the Bible. So there's just a mountain of truth in there, and there's surface truth, and then there's deep truth. And if you keep reading it, and you keep reading it over and over and over, and asking questions, and meditating on it, concentrating on it, praying about it, you will get you'll be enlightened. You'll get the answers too, and something will instill itself in you, and you'll just be like a river. Things will just start coming to you, and it's amazing.